Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Teach Middle East podcast. Today, I am again going behind the principal's desk to learn a little bit more about one of our school leaders here in the region. Today, I'm talking to Steve Giles, and he is the principal of Raffles International School in Dubai. And we want to know what makes Steve tick. Now, Steve is a good sport because he literally signed himself up to this. I promise I did not have to twist his arm. So I know he's going to give us some good answers and we're going to have a lot of fun. Now, remember, on this series of the podcast, I get to ask the questions that the parents might want to ask, or better still, the other teachers want to ask, the teachers in his school who are probably scared to ask him, some of those little cheeky questions. I'm not scared. I'm going to ask him. Welcome, Steve. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you very much. I'm nervous. I wasn't nervous until that.
Oh, really? Don't be nervous. It's crazy. I don't know why people say they're nervous. I am a good girl. I will not ask you who was your first love or something. Or am I? Anyway, keep listening, guys. I might ask that. He might not want to answer, but I might ask. Okay. Steve, are you a family man?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Married with 2 children. They're both actually now in Manchester in the UK. So my daughter's at Manchester Metropolitan University, Met, and my son has just started in an excellent, what I hope to be an excellent university called the UCFB, which is not well known. It's called the University Campus of Football Business, and it's linked to East London. But he wants to get behind the scenes in the football industry. So he's actually studying football business and marketing. And he literally just started last week. And his first day was at Old Trafford meeting an ex-Premier League manager. So it wasn't a bad start. So married, 2 children. And I'm actually one of 6 boys, 5 brothers.
Wow. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a city called Plymouth, in the southwest of England, where the Pilgrim Fathers set sail to discover America. So Plymouth in the southwest, in a county called Devon. Beautiful seaside town, surrounded by beaches. It's very rural. It's right on the gateway to Cornwall, which is where Land's End is. Plymouth, about 250,000 people in Plymouth, and yeah, it's a lovely city, and I do miss home.
Yeah, I've been to Devon actually. I took a trip when I taught in London. I took a trip to Devon, and it was beautiful there. Really, really loved it. We did some sort of adventure, abseiling and climbing and all those things.
Yeah.
It was great. It's great fun.
I was just gonna say it's very touristy. It's very much a place where a lot of people in the UK will visit for their holidays, and quite
Yeah,
rightly so.
yeah, it's beautiful. How long have you been out here?
In the UAE now for 6 years.
And have
So
you always
moved.
been at Raffles?
No, I first came to Al Ain, which is that way, about an hour and a half that way into the desert. And that was beautiful. Al Ain was stunning, beautiful, beautiful city. And if you get the chance to visit, I would strongly recommend it. It's a beautiful city. It's very quiet, but it's stunning. And there's some beautiful places to visit, like the mountain, Jebel Hafit, and the Oasis. And there's a pretty good golf course there. So a little bit of a plug to the golf course. So I lived there for 2 years. And then I moved to Dubai in 2019. And then I joined Innoventures Group, which is part of where I am now, but the other Raffles. So I was at the other Raffles World Academy, which is 200 meters that way.
Yeah. And in terms of your time in the UAE, what has been your highlight?
100%. The highlight, I think, are the people. Honestly, I cannot put into words. And I know this might sound cliche about the Emirati people, but for me, it absolutely isn't. From the moment that I joined the country in Al Ain, I've been looked after by the Emirati people, and I think they're the most caring, understanding, tolerant, polite, just amazing people that I've ever met. And I don't say that just because I'm in this country. I really don't. I'll take this with me forever, no matter where I go. They looked after me because I first moved to Al Ain with just my son, and my wife and my daughter stayed in the UK because she was finishing her GCSEs at the time. So I moved over with my son, and we didn't have a clue really what we were doing, to be honest. And I had a landlord in Al Ain who was an Emirati gentleman, and he really looked after me. And he would invite me in for food sometimes, and he took me out in his car to look for things that I needed to buy and things. So from that moment, really, I've got a special place in my heart for the Emirati people, and that stays with me every day. So even yesterday, I met an Emirati family who wanted a little bit of help with something, and I made sure that I cleared my diary completely, and I really wanted to look after them. Not saying that I favor them, because I don't, but I am honored to be in this country, and I feel that the least I can do is to try and help and support when I can, if I can.
Where were you in Al Ain? Which school?
Al Ain English speaking school.
Oh, are you at? Okay.
School, yeah. For 2 years, 2 years in that school, and that school's on the up, and that school's doing really well now. Then I moved to Raffles World Academy. So that was a UK curriculum school. Then I went IB for 3 years. Now I'm back for the last year and this year back to UK curriculum, which is Raffles International School. So I'm experienced in both now, and actually joining an IB school was excellent. Like, again, at my age, when you've been in education a long time, to go into a different curriculum was fantastic. It kind of reignited your zest for learning again, because I was learning things every single day. And in those 3 years that I was there, I worked with some phenomenal professionals, who were phenomenal at the IB, and I learned a lot from them. And you never stop learning, do you?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. How long is your commute to school?
Ooh, coming to school, because I leave at about 6 o'clock, about 20 minutes, and going back could be anything up to an hour. Unfortunately, I have to go down Sakeen Road, and if there was a tube line or a metro, I would definitely use that if I could. But unfortunately, there's no kind of way around getting home via vehicles, cars. So I have to sit in that traffic, unfortunately. But I listen to my podcasts and things like that, and I try and make it as enjoyable as possible. And I try not to get too stressed. I don't worry about it. I just think I'm living in this beautiful country. The sun's out. It's not raining. If this is taking a long time, then you got to try and look at the positives.
Yeah, no, for sure. What are you listening to? Which podcasts?
I'm actually hugely into sport, funnily enough. So I try and switch off. From education when I'm in the car. So I love music. I absolutely love music. But at the moment, I've been listening to some football podcasts, because I'm a big football fan. One of them is a phone in on BBC 5 Live phone in. So that's after the football matches have been played, all the supporters phone in. And I think they're called The Rest. I think the other one's called The Rest is Football, which is Gary Lineker, Alan Shearer, and Mika Richards, and they just talk about life in the world of football, and I quite enjoy that as well. So I try to turn off from work on the way home, and then when I get home, I'll plug the laptop back in then at that point. But that time in the car, I try and switch off from everything.
Really? What's your favorite song to listen to?
That's a very good question. I'm a huge Coldplay, sort of Bon Jovi, Queen fan. They're my kind of go-to groups. And there's a song by Coldplay called Coloratura, which is off the latest album actually, and that's about 12 minutes long, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's very orchestral. So that is a song that is really chill, and I relax to that. But I'm a bit of a rocker. I'm an 80s boy, so I like the American, like the rock from the Bon Jovi and people like that from the 80s. That's what I like. So yeah, when Guns N' Roses came not so long ago to Abu Dhabi, I was there and watched a bit of Guns N' Roses. So I know people wouldn't know that about me, but yeah, I'm a bit of a rocker.
Really? There is I love Coldplay, and there's a
Yeah,
favorite song of mine, which is Skies Full of Stars.
yeah, yeah,
Do you know that
yeah.
one? Can you
I
sing me a
do.
line?
No.
Love that
I've seen
song.
I've seen Coldplay twice, and I really wanted to go and see them when they came to Expo because I was a huge Expo fan. I thought Expo was fantastic, and I was desperate trying to get tickets. I just couldn't get the tickets, so I couldn't go. So I'm
Oh,
hoping that they'll come back maybe some
I'm
point to
hoping
Abu
too.
Dhabi. Yeah, yeah, they're fantastic live.
So if you were to plan an ideal date night for your wife, what would that be?
Wow. Okay. We might have different opinions here. um, Date night. I just took her away this last weekend. So I took her away to celebrate our anniversary, which was a little while ago. And I took her to Abu Dhabi. We went to the Anantara in the Eastern Mangroves, which was absolutely beautiful. And we're not big party goers. We enjoy a nice meal. We love the cinema. We absolutely love the cinema. We go probably about 2, 3 times a month. And again, the cinemas here in the UAE are just phenomenal. I just can't get over how amazing they are. So we go there. So maybe a film, then off to something to eat, and then maybe a couple of drinks somewhere, and a beautiful hotel stay somewhere really beautiful, and a little bit of a plug for the Anantara there because we had a wonderful stay last weekend in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, it's a nice place. In terms of restaurants, what is your favorite? Like what
Oh,
type? If you don't want to name
I'm
the name, what type?
Yeah, I like meat. I'm a meat eater. So I like steaks, I like things like that. I like fish, but not shellfish. I like fish. Um but yeah, I'm a chicken, beef, kind of lamb sort of guy. And a beautiful roast would be lovely. But I also absolutely love Chinese food as well.
Do
So
you?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, love Chinese food. So, but I eat too much when I go to a Chinese restaurant. I eat too much. I have to stop and calm down. It gets silly sometimes.
Have you found good Chinese food here?
Um, Sometimes, yeah, the Great Wall is a very good delivery. The Chinese delivery, the Great Wall, that's very nice. But as far as eating out for a Chinese, I mean, you have PF Chang's obviously, but yeah, it's more difficult sometimes to find the Chinese. But yeah, I do really enjoy. But when I go back to the UK as well, the UK has some really good Chinese. So when we went back, literally just this summer, just for a little while, we went and found a Chinese.
Yeah, it's crazy because Chinese is my worst. I don't like Chinese food at all. But then I've heard that in this country it's even worse, that you can't get really good Chinese. That's what I've heard. I'm not sure.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but let's switch it up a bit. You are into education, but if you
Yeah.
could choose another job, what would that job be?
Um, any job I want,
Any job you want.
I'd be a professional golfer.
Wow.
I love golf. I absolutely love golf. I'm not bad. I'm not great. I'm not bad. I play off 9, which is a reasonable handicap, but certainly not amazing. Um, but I just love it. I love golf. I mean, I played sport. I played sport to a really high level when I was younger, and I'm not going to tell you the sport just yet. But I played sport sort of at Premier League level. Played in national events and things. Um, but golf was always the sport that I really, really enjoyed. That's like where you're away, it's 4 hours, you're with your friends, you're having a bit of fun. And the other thing I really loved about golf, or I love when I get the chance to play golf, um, is you can always improve at golf. You're never too far away from hitting a really bad shot. And I think with golf, I watch some of these players, and the Ryder Cup starting tomorrow, and I watch some of these players, and I just think, how are you so consistent? Like there's consistency, and that you need consistency in anything in life, I believe. But the consistency that these guys have over such a long period of time, and a round can take up to 4 or 5 hours, whereas a football match can be 90 minutes or something like that. To have that consistency and that mindset where you never make a mistake, that for me is just mind-blowing how incredible these people are. And also, when you play golf, I don't know if you've noticed, but they follow the sun around the world. So
I'm not a
they
golfer.
never play in the rain. Very rarely. Very rarely.
Really?
So I'm sorry. Been a lot of sport in this podcast so far, but yeah, I'd be a professional golfer.
Well, let's keep with the theme then. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Wow, the most adventurous thing I've ever done. That's a very good question. I go a little bit. This is a little bit more off field, a little bit. Okay. So when I was 20, I went to Romania, to Bucharest, after the fall of the Ceausescu regime, and there was a military coup. And I went there to do up an orphanage for the children who were living in poverty at that time. So I went with a charity called To Romania with Aid, and I went over there. So whether this is an adventurous question or not, it was certainly one of those things that will stay with me forever. And I went there, and I really felt not, I don't know what the right word would be, but I hadn't really thought through what I might experience. So there was a military curfew. So at 9 o'clock, by 8 o'clock, you had to be in off the streets because there were tanks going down the streets. You had one phone call a week where you would phone the operator, and that you'd say to the operator the number that you were allowed to ring, and then they would call that number on your behalf. And my time was 7 p.m. on a Monday night. I got to make one phone call home. And you would phone home, and then they would connect you, and they would listen to your call. So I would speak to my mum, and I would say, "Oh, hi, mum," and we'd have a chat. They'd listen, and they'd tell you 10 minutes. And then at about 9 minutes, 40 seconds, they'd say, "You have 20 seconds left. Please say goodbye." And then they cut you off. So adventurous in a way of incredible. And I have such an affinity for the Romanian people as well. So whenever I meet the Romanian people, I always sort of say to them, "Oh, I came to your country in 1991, and it was amazing. It was incredible." So yeah, it was an adventure in a really good way, as far as being able to help these young children who are in orphanage, obviously, who had just come out of a civil war. And that for me changed my life really a little bit, I think. But when I experienced that, I went from being somebody who probably thought about themselves quite a lot and about what I can do, as far as how I could improve myself, to actually thinking a lot about other people, and how how it's important to always try and help when you can, if you can. That stayed with me massively. So as a leader, I would like to think that I still sort of show that to my staff. I'm very supportive. I'd like to think of me being very supportive, putting well-being at the front. Well-being is number one on our school improvement plan, and actually putting people before yourself.
Yeah.
And that's something that I always do. So.
Yeah, no, it's not adventure the way we would describe it, but I think it is definitely an adventure because it took you out of your comfort zone, and I think that's what adventure does, really. When you step out of what your normal is and go into something that challenges you in some way or the other. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of travel, where have you been that you would say has been the most impressive place that you have seen or traveled to?
Other than the UAE.
Other than where you currently live?
Because I would recommend the UAE to everybody. I really enjoyed America. I went to America. I've been to America about 3-4 times. I've loved America. I love the American people. They've got such a passion for their country and life. And I think American people sometimes are a little bit chalk and cheese. I think some people might think they're a little bit overbearing. I love it. I join in. I absolutely love it. So I loved America. Other than that,
Where did you go
probably
in America?
so I've been, yeah, Florida and New York at different times. So both of those in their own way. Yeah, I do really like to travel. My wife loves traveling, so she's probably watching this and she's like, "Oh, this is great." So Sri Lanka, I went to Thailand. I've been to all over Europe. I've been to most places in Europe, not most places, but a lot of places in Europe. Yeah, obviously Romania was stay with me. Trying to think where else I've been.
But in terms of memory, you're thinking that your trip to America was your most memorable.
Do you know what? I think the reason why America was so special, not the first time, because the first time I went to New York with friends, and that was one trip. But I think we went to America as a family, and we had the best time as a family. The four of us, our children at that stage were, around about sort of 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And we went sort of 3 years in a row. And honestly, I think as a family holiday, that will be the one that I always remember is when we went to Florida and we did the Disney and we did the Universal stuff. And I'm a huge theme park fan. I'm IMG. I've got annual pass to Motion Gate. I'm a big, I'm a, I'm a big roller coaster guy. So yeah, go in there and seeing all the theming, around these films that I'd seen as a kid. You go and see these rides and things in Harry Potter World and then the Disney things. It was just phenomenal. And yeah, I think they were special for me as a family. And then on top of that, you've got the American people who are like, hey, you having a great day? I'm like, yeah, having a great day. And it was like those sort of things. So yeah, that was really special for me. And I went to the Maldives last year, and that again was like really, really special. That was just the two of us, and absolutely stunning. And again, the people. I think people make places, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like the UAE so much.
Have you done the roller coaster here in Abu Dhabi?
What,
Ferrari
Ferrari
World?
World? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
How was
haven't,
that?
I haven't been, I haven't been to SeaWorld and I haven't been to Warner Brothers yet. They're on the list.
Yeah, Warner Brothers is when you go to Warner Brothers, do the Tom and Jerry ride and then just email me and tell me what that was like.
I do it all. I do everything. I don't care what it is. And I go to Motion Gate and I go into Shrek and sit on the little thing like it's a kid's ride, and I love it.
Yeah, no, I'm forced to do that because my kids are still young, they're 10, so I'm forced to still do those types of things. But that Tom and Jerry ride is a major surprise. Like it starts off quite sedate, so you're thinking, oh, this is lovely, and then it gets crazy, like a cat and mouse chase. It's crazy. You said you're an 80s kind of guy. What embarrassing fashion trend have you followed that you no longer you no longer do?
I had a mullet.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I had a mullet. So in the 80s, I had nice long hair, sort of at the back, and a nice big curtain haircut. And I know you wouldn't believe it now by looking at me. And I thought I was cool, I was like, oh, I've got a mullet. This is great. So yeah, so I had a bit of long hair, and again, it was like the music scene that I was into at the time. So everybody had one. Um, so yeah, and I mean, like, even now, probably, if I could, I would. Joking. I
Would
wouldn't
you?
do
No, but okay. Then
it.
then think of what is like something that you have in your wardrobe that you love to wear that others around you, like your family, would find embarrassing. Like your kids are like, "Oh my God, Dad, stop wearing this."
I mean, I've got a few. Yeah, I've got a couple of like, band t-shirts. So yeah, I like to sometimes wear that, but they say to me, "You're too old for that now. You shouldn't be wearing that." So yeah, that sort of thing. I don't know. I like to still dress pretty cool if I can. And yeah, I don't. I think yeah, everybody's an individual. So I think if that person likes to wear that thing or that person likes to dress a certain way, then hey, just go with it.
How do you think your kids would describe you? What's one word they would use to describe you?
uh, that's a very good question. I would like to think supportive, but also at the same point, I encourage them to be driven, to do their best. And I always say to people, if you do your best, then nobody can argue with that. So, I always say when I speak to them, I always say to them, are you happy? Is everything okay? Make sure that's all fine. And then if they're doing a bit of work or I said, was this your best? Was this your absolute best? And they say, yeah, it was, and that's fine with me, if that's the
Yeah. So
case.
supportive is your word.
I think supportive and happy. I think my main thing is in life, I think being happy is key, because if you're not happy, then what's the point? You've got to be happy. So change careers, change jobs if you need to, do whatever it takes to be happy. You've got to be happy. And we're in the last five in the a little thing for which school advisor and schools compare. We're in the last five of nominated schools for the happiest school in the UAE. So I'm really thinking, I'm really hoping that we've got a chance of winning that, because that would make me so happy to win that, more than anything, more than like the highest achieving, the best for this, the best for that, but being happy. Nothing's more important than being happy.
What's given you that perspective? What's one difficult thing that's happened to you in life that's now given you this perspective?
Do you know, I think there's been lots of things over the years. I think everybody's probably got a story to tell of speed bumps and peaks and troughs. I think everyone has. But I think it's grasping those moments where you've done well and you've succeeded, and knowing that you should celebrate those times. But also then on the flip side of that is when something doesn't go well, or you feel that you haven't really done yourself justice, or you may have missed out on something, or you might have failed on something. Is to feel that disappointment, but channel it into how you don't want to feel that again. So, if you failed something or you didn't quite do it, is to really think about how you're feeling, that disappointment, but really learn from that process, because we learn more from our mistakes than we do our successes.
So
And learn about that and think, right, I'm not going to let this happen to me again. I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and I'm going to make sure that I feel that when you do achieve something, you do something really well. Do you know what? It's like you just make you happy, and really channel that feeling. And this is intrinsic. This isn't about rewards or anything else. This is about how you feel. And I always say to people, when you lie down in bed at night and you shut your eyes and you close, if you feel proud and you feel happy about how that day's gone, then actually that's not a bad day.
yeah. What aspect, because you seem like somebody who is constantly looking for ways to improve. What area within yourself, so not job, but within yourself, what area within yourself are you working on right now?
So I'm trying to work on actually like giving myself a bit more time. So I've just recently kind of, I bought a couple of books about obviously well-being and sort of meditation and that sort of thing, where you're really giving yourself time. And I think I've only literally just started this, and this might be news to, like, and maybe this is a bit too personal to share with everyone, but
Share.
I think when you first, I don't know if you've done it, but when you first think, oh, I'm just going to give myself 10 minutes, and you're listening to the meditation or whatever, you kind of feel silly. You kind of think, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why, what is this? I don't know if it really works and things like this. But actually, like afterwards, I felt really quite like a peace, and I felt really calm, and I felt really balanced. And actually, so now when I'm listening to music, if I'm working or anything like that, I've got a meditation playlist that I put on in the background, which just basically just plays very low, quiet, peaceful. It's not a song, really. It's just beautiful noise. Like it might be nature, it might just be the sea, it might be, and I have this, and I keep adding to it. And I actually looked at it yesterday, and it's 36 hours long now, because I keep adding to it. So that's what I'm working on. I'm actually working on like an inner peace, and actually having time for myself. That would be it. And I think to be able to sort of share that with you is quite a personal thing. So yeah,
We love
that would be it.
vulnerability, Steve. We think, well, I think basically, and one of the reasons for doing Behind the Principal's Desk is that we want to humanize school leaders in a way that staff and parents can relate more easily to them and who they are inside, not just the man at the gate or the man who sits in the office or who wears the yellow tie
Yeah,
on a Thursday. um, but basically the person who is actually in tuned with themselves. All right, we're wrapping up. What are your
just
ambitions?
going to
Where
show
do you
you.
see?
Just to prove. Just to prove. There you go.
Oh, wow, that's your
Uh,
Spotify. Guys, you have to
uh,
watch this on YouTube. The majority of our listeners are on Apple Podcasts. But what are we now? All 13,000 something of you, please go over to YouTube and watch this.
you're not
So
on
that
Spotify? You're not on Spotify?
so our listenership, based on our statistics, the majority of them are on Apple Podcasts. I don't know why, but that's just how it's come off in the back end. But I'd love to drive them over to YouTube so you can see Steve's meditation playlist on Spotify. Yeah, it's good. Listen, you're talking to someone who's into meditation and yoga a lot. So
Okay.
I can attest to the benefits of the practice. It is very, very calming, very centering. I think all leaders should take on some form of practice, whether you're into spirituality or not. You should take on some practice that centers you and brings you back to yourself because you can get busy. I used to lead schools. I was in Al Ain. You didn't know that, Steve. I was in Al Foa at Al Shaheen School. I was the academic principal for 5 years. So it is very, very good to do something like that. My
I
last
agree.
question, where do you see yourself in your career or even in your personal life in the next, I hate this question, but I love to ask it anyway. In the next 5, 10 years, where's Steve going? What's he doing?
That's a really good question, and I don't know actually the answer. I'm very happy where I am. I'm in a great group in Adventures Education. I absolutely love my job as far as being a principal because every day you get to be with young people. And wherever that is in the world, that will never change because you're with young people and their passion and lust for life and their enthusiasm is so infectious. And if ever I'm sat here and I'm writing the school improvement plan or I'm doing something on the set, I think, do you know what? I need 10 minutes in early years. That's what I need. So I'll go down to early years and then, do you know what? It's like you've got that incredible enthusiasm and passion. So where do I see myself in 10 years? I don't know the answer to that question. And I'm going to sit on the fence as far as I see myself still in education. Um, absolutely. I think I've got a lot to give. Yeah. I like to think so anyway. People will have me. And if they don't, and if it all ends one day, then I'm sure I'll find something else to follow on to. But there's no plans to change just yet. I was a quantity surveyor before I got into education, so I've had a career in a different profession, and I did that for around 7, 8 years. Um, but the passion was always education. And it's funny enough, the very little story. The reason I then gave it all up was because one of my contracts where I was working, the office where they put me in, where we were doing about 100 houses in Cornwall, funnily enough, and the office was overlooking a school. And I sat there and I was looking at the school and I was watching the teachers at break time and the children. I thought, you know what? You've only got one life, and you need to do something that you really want to do, and you want to follow that passion. And if you read all my school reports when I was a child, it was always for Steve to become a teacher, for Steve to become a teacher, and it was always the same thing because I really wanted to be a teacher. And I just sat there one day and I thought, I'm going to go for it. So I
I'm
did.
glad you did. I'm glad you did. I'm
Thank you.
sure the people who work with you will be glad that you did that and not
I don't.
remain, counting blocks and bricks in quantity
I
surveying.
wasn't very good at it. Only joking.
But thank you so much, Steve, for being
You're
a
welcome.
good sport and for, giving us an insight into who you are and what drives you. Thank you so much.
There's a sky full of stars.
Hey, I got him to sing,
See
guys.
you later. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Take care.